Hello and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Mignot. Each week I bring on a different amazing person who's doing great things in business. And this is part of my 29 Days of Magic series where I interview a Black woman a day for 29 straight days, all for Black History Month, from all different walks of life. And today I'm super excited to have Angela Mitchell, who is a developer slash artist slash pianist. She has an amazing story and I can't wait for you all to hear more about it. So take a listen. Hey Angela, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad you're joining me on the show. So, as I
Thanks.
mentioned, light and breezy conversation. First question is always fun. I'm very curious to see what your answer is going to be. So, Angela, what was your first job?
Uh, my first job, if I'm being specifically accurate, was a retail associate for Walmart. Um, Lasted a week. There's a whole story to that. It was not good. It's I really like the people aspect of it, even though I'm an introvert, but just the idea of walking from one corner of the store to the other and zoning, which is organizing stuff on shelves. It was not great.
It was not for you. You're like, yeah, no.
Right.
Well, totally. Look, I mean, the cool part about always, whenever I ask folks about the first job, is like, okay, the lesson learned, like walking a country mile every day, not really my thing. Like, that's something I'm not gonna
No.
do ever again. I get it.
Exactly. Yeah, it was at a time where I was towards the end of college, where I was studying art and music. So it's very, much on the other side of the spectrum of type of task I would be interested in doing. I, love working with paints and portraiture and, learning about music theory, cleaning fish tanks. I don't know.
Not really your move. I get it.
But they were
I can
really
see how that
cute.
would not be. I can see how that could not be a thing for you. I fully understand.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So we go from okay, Walmart, not the move, to where you are now. So what's that career journey been like?
Yeah, it's been a really surreal experience because it's also in a different realm that I didn't expect, but in actually more good ways. After graduating from college, I got into clerical work. That didn't go so well as well because it was still um, not as creative, and innovative as I was hoping for. And I feel like I really wanted to get more of the tangible field, like being able to see the work that I do help people. So after taking a hiatus from working for a bit, my dad, who used to work for Boeing, heard about Launch Code. And Launch Code's a nonprofit organization that provides different courses for professionals looking to transition in technology. And it's free. And back at the time, it was in person. Now they do virtual sessions as well. Um, and my dad's like, hey, maybe check this out. This may be a path forward for you to something different. I was like, I don't know. I'm more on the tech side, art side rather. I messed with tech as a kid. My dad having one of the earliest Apple computers back in the day, but not enough to say oh, I can go into computer science or anything like that. But I'll give it a try. And surprisingly, I did fairly well with the couple of courses that I did in 2018 and 2020, and worked my way to getting into an apprenticeship at VML Y&R, now VML, and as apprentice for the Bridgestone team. That was my first client, and yeah, I started as the apprentice, did that for about 6 months, and then I got converted to full time. And I've been here ever since, so about 2.5 years now as a front-end web developer here.
Awesome. So it
Yeah.
sounds like you went from I'm gonna be an artist,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm now going to use my art skills to actually create art in a new way, which is through software development.
Yes, it's so surreal. I didn't know if it would really be able to combine, my art interest and my tech skills together in such a way, but it's been a very nice blend. And so I've been, able to build the look and feel of different websites, from T-Mobile to Bridgestone to United Rentals as well. Just things I've never thought I could do. Like being able to apply my art background, that transferable skills, right, into, a totally different field that I didn't expect. So yeah, it's been an awesome experience.
So that's actually really important because, obviously lots of folks who come from the art world oftentimes are like, we're struggling artists. And how do I get a regular 9 to 5 while I work on my art? What do you think has been like the thing that you were able to take from your art skills and translate into your now tech skills?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like in tech, like one of the biggest trends is always, we want to be problem solvers, right? Um, and I feel like that translates to many industries, but especially with the arts, both as an artist and a musician, you got to find different ways to deliver that end product. So my art classes, end product would be maybe a portrait in a particular style. Recently, I looked back on one of my portraits, self-portraits that I had to do that was supposed to be in a style like expressionism, where it's like not 100% in reality. It's more about expressing a feeling. That was really challenging, especially for me. I tend to be a perfectionist and want to kind of like gear towards realism, even though I love impressionism as well. But it was really tricky to shift from that. And it kind of still didn't look exactly expressionistic, but since I was doing a self-portrait, you could kind of maybe see my emotions in it. At the time I was a bit more stressed during college, so you may be able to see that with the line work and things. And like, even though I struggled with trying to achieve that goal of like it being 100% expressionistic, I kind of problem solved through it by, keeping the end goal in mind, just pushing through things and, getting to the other side to complete that assignment on time. Yeah, as a technologist, things are not, fully predictable. Like when you get a bug, an unexpected behavior, on your plate to address, you have to kind of be able to adapt to that situation. You might think, oh, I know the exact answer for this, but it may actually not work out when you apply it. So you have to think about like different ways to interpret the problem, research it, get some feedback from other people. That's another thing too with art and music. A lot of that work in college, we had to do critiques, peer critiques and critiques from our professors to get feedback on how to improve, what worked well. That translates into tech as well, where we do code reviews and check in on if we're following the best practices. So being able to be adaptable, accepting feedback, that really translates well from my arts background into the tech world.
Awesome. I love that. I love that expression because I think that's a great way of showing that like as an artist, your art never actually goes away, and the thoughts and the sort of skills that you develop creating your art actually do
Mm-hmm.
translate in a way when you work in something like the tech industry. I think it's a really beautiful example that you shared. So you know you had a complete change in terms of what you want to do from going to be art and now into tech. Thinking about what you've
Mm-hmm,
learned
right.
so far, what do you think you'd tell 18-year-old Angela based on what you know today?
Mm. I've thought about this type of question a lot. I tell her, and I keep telling myself this now, probably about two things. It's just like, hey, it's okay for things to change. That's probably one of the biggest ones, like the first one. Like it's okay that for things to change because 18-year-old me for sure was very, very much tied to my path is to be an artist, art musician, extravaganza, whatever kind of combination that would be. But I really didn't know what that would look like exactly. It's like, well, it's okay for that vision to change. At this point now in my life, I'm seeing being an artist more as a hobby or maybe perhaps a side hustle. It's looking a bit different than I imagined before. And some days I'm like, oh, this is not where I thought it would be. And then other days it's like, well, it's not, but maybe it's a good thing because maybe something else has come into life in this case tech that it's changed my perspective, giving me more options. Back then I didn't think I would be capable of being in the tech industry at all. But now I've been open, my eyes have been open to different opportunities, including actually as well leadership opportunities. Currently the neurodiversity co-chair for neurodiversity ERG employee resource group at our company, and that is something that I again didn't imagine could be possible. I had a lot of limiting beliefs then, and some I still struggle with now, that there's no way I could fill that role. But being able to, I don't know, have more of these opportunities, it's showing me that no, I'm actually capable of doing different things and helping in different ways besides connecting with an audience through my art and music. So yeah, number one, things can change and it's okay. And the second thing is, and it's something I still tell myself today, it's like you're good enough. And that's one that I still need to tell myself today. It's like you're good enough as you are. Don't try to fit into anyone else's box. Carve your path. What's for you is for you. I feel like if I knew that then, as I know now, I feel like I would have been more comfortable with those changes, as I mentioned, where I was like, oh, I really was tied to this vision. It's like, no, it's like I wish I could have just went with the flow of what I wanted to do, not necessarily what anyone else wanted me to do, and do the things that I feel like work for me, not what other people think would, be more reasonable or, logical to do. It's like whatever works for you works for you. Yeah, I would definitely tell my younger self, you know, you're good enough. Whatever you decide and wherever you go.
You're not only good enough, you're awesome, Angela. So and don't you ever forget it. I love that you shared that, and thank you so much for doing that. So you mentioned that you're the co-chair of our, full transparency, we work at the same advertising agency. Um,
hmm
and and you're the co-chair of the neurodiverse ERG. So for folks out there who are trying to learn, I mean, more about what it means to be a neurodiverse employee and how they can be supportive, what's some things that you guys have done as part of your ERG?
Yeah, so full transparency, I actually have been diagnosed rather with obsessive cognitive, oh my gosh, why can't I say it? OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. That was a diagnosis I got in college, and I didn't know really how that fit into like the neurodiversity world until I got into this group at our company. We're called Wired Not Weird, but we also go by the neurodiversity ERG title as well. And in our group, we really have just been a community. Most of that has just been a bi-weekly meeting that we come together for an hour, talk about what's been going on at work or in our lives. Sometimes we talk specifically about topics about neurodiversity, ways that we work best, ways that we wish, our environment could change for the better. And then, we may, towards the end of the session, play a game like Wordle or Semantle. There are a lot of fun word games there, or do some creative activities. I know, like last year or so, we did one where we drew ourselves as superheroes and talked about how, you know, our different traits, the traits that we have, are actually not burdens or hindrances, but they could also maybe be perhaps seen as strengths. Like for me, for example, I drew myself as, I don't know if I remember the specific title. I think it was like Miss Sensitive, something like that, because I'm very, very sensitive to sounds, needs of other people. I don't know, just different sensory things that I've noticed, or like again with the perfectionism, I'm just very attuned to details, and most of the time I always have felt that um, that attention to detail was a flaw because it slowed me down in some cases in certain jobs, or in certain environments, certain work environments, managers would not like that I ask a lot of questions. And in tech, it is a bit more of the opposite. It's like, oh, hey, if you present the list of things that you've worked on a ticket, and it's like, okay, I tried XYZ to solve this problem, but I'm still getting this error, for example. Can you help me out? And what other areas I need to look into to be able to solve this problem? It's like, I don't know, with tech, it just feels like that mindset is seen as a strength. And so in our ERG, we have those conversations of like, oh, this thing that, some people see as a quirk is actually really seen as an asset to the company. So it's been really uplifting and empowering to see everyone learn more about themselves, learn more about each other, and have these important conversations about, what it means to be neurodivergent in, the work world, especially at an advertising agency. Just thinking of ways how we can move forward, to better advocate for ourselves and any other people that come into our company as well, and the clients we serve as well, to make sure that they're informed about how to best support the neurodivergent community. So we're hoping to have some more activations this year, connect really with, within our group, and also expand to new members that come into our group, and really make some change. So yeah.
Awesome. I love that. And I have to say, Angela, I am so blown away by your growth. I remember when we spoke earlier last year, you was so shy. And you just blossomed in such a beautiful, beautiful flower. And the thing that, as we've talked about being neurodiverse, is that our quirks are our strengths. And,
Mhm.
I always talk about the fact that, I'm dyslexic. And one of the things that helps me very much with is that I'm really good at really reading people. So pretty quickly, I'm going to know if this person's going to be amazing or terrible. And and figuring out how best to navigate those circumstances. And it comes in really handy because you have to be able to read people and understand different thoughts and feelings. And so you look upon the things that, make you different, but they all are strengths for you. So I'm so glad that you've been able to harness all of that and not just do it for yourself, but help it with others. Because like that's the best gift that we can give to the world, is to show off our strengths.
Absolutely. I mean, that's like the key right there, where it's like I like, this is my just idealistic thinking. It's just like I wish we were in a world where, hey, we can, be a leader, but not maybe like that stereotypical leader. People, different people lead. As you mentioned, I am very, very shy, and I was very, very afraid of how I would be as a leader. But I'm learning that there's different leadership styles, and even in there's more nuances of, type of leadership. There's, I know for me, I personally like to see myself as a facilitator versus a lead. I want to be a person that facilitates, change, conversations, support, just being a supporter of people. Kind of like mentorship, which actually is interesting because I did mentor for the Launch Code organization for about a year for one of their cohorts. And again, same feeling of like, I don't know, I'm really shy. I don't know if I can do this. But when I flipped it to really kind of look at like, well, what do I want to be as a leader? Like, how do I want to lead versus, again, trying to fit into a box. When I took it as that, I was able to kind of hone into my strength of being empathetic and sensitive to people's emotions. So like if someone was really feeling down and negative during one of their coding assignments, in launch code, I would, give them the pep talk that I've heard from mentors, or that I wanted to hear from mentors. It's like, hey, you got this, and this is hard stuff, and it's a whole career change, but you got mentors here to support you, your peers to support you. The world's your oyster. You can make, your path however you want with what you're gaining through these programs, and you got this and stuff. And I did hear back from a few mentees that, that support meant a lot to them. And that made me feel like, oh, I did something great, and I didn't have to put myself in that box. So I'd love, like, for the world to be able to, everybody in the world to be able to find that way of working, that way of living true to themselves, of unapologetically, and, just, find their ways to shine.
I love that. And that's a great way of looking at the world. And I'm so glad that you've seen how, you can be a great leader by figuring it out to be the best leader for you. Because that's the most important
Mm,
thing. You can't be somebody else when you're trying to be a leader. You've got to be yourself. So
yes.
speaking
Mhm.
about yourself, what does Angela do for Angela? What do you do for your self-care?
It's so, like, wide range, and I don't know, but a lot of it seems to be, like, centered at home. But another thing that maybe not many people know about me, I'm a big gamer. I love video games, so I've played things from, like, God of War Ragnarok to recently playing Gotham Knights, and had my sister over there watching me, judging me, laughing at me, or helping me out. It was like, watch out for that enemy, and things like that. But I mean, for me as a gamer, it's not just about just the act of doing it, and getting the achievements, because again, I'm like perfectionist, but in this case it's more like, oh, I just want to see all the things. I want to complete all the missions in the game. But it's also the story. I like, there's different stories to these games. There's some indie games that I really like that are from, like, independent developers. Binbo was one. It was, I believe, an Indian based game. It's just about cooking, but it was like there's a story within that about family and growing up, and I was just like, oh, this is like a visual novel almost. I grew up with, like, point and click games as well. It's just, I really like the stories that some of these video games tell. And so I like to do that because it's like a little bit of a break from my day to day. And it feels like, just a nice way to relax on weekends. So that's one thing. I also recently have been doing diamond painting. Diamond painting, you get these drills. I call them diamonds, but they're also interchangeably known as drills, are really tiny beads, and you get a painting that's like sticky. It's like a sticky canvas, and it's like painting by numbers, where you're applying the associated color to that particular spot, and it forms an image that you can hang up and frame and share with loved ones and things. And I've done about, I think I've done about five now. I'm working, I think, on the sixth one right now. But after that, I think I want to go back to regular painting, whether
Cool.
going back to doing oil painting or acrylic painting. I miss that a lot. Also digital painting as well, to get back into that. So that, maybe play on the keys a little bit, the piano here that I have, and yeah, just a lot of, like, creative stuff that I like to do in my spare time.
Love it. Absolutely love it. The diamond painting sounds really cool. And the games.
Yeah.
Last question for you. Do you have a give and or ask of the audience?
A give or an ask. What's that?
It
Like a
could be a piece of
request?
it. It could be a piece of advice. It could be a book you've read or anything you want.
Mm. I think I'll say this, like, because this is something I'm living by right now, a piece of advice, like, and this is something that can stay into 2024. Definitely, I encourage it to go beyond 2024. But I've had this mantra in my head of no more in 2024. And with this mantra in my head, I'm trying to remind myself of things that didn't bring me joy, things that felt like, just brought me down, and made me feel a little bit less hopeful for the future. It's like, It's like, no, like, chase that thing this year. Give give yourself that chance to, explore that area of interest. Like if you want to learn web development, go ahead, take a class online. There's a lot of free options out there and a lot of people that you can meet up at different meetups, that would be interested in sharing their knowledge with you too. And yeah, I was like, go for that. Or if you want to get into a new hobby, I don't know, like mountain climbing or
Sure.
learning about, how to ride a bike or anything like that. Things that you're like, well, I don't know that I have the time. No, like make the time for it. It's life is so short, and it's just I would hope for everybody, to be able to fill their lives with as much joy as possible and to not live with any regrets. Just so like this year, just have that mantra, no more in 2024. The way that you were last year, aim to not be it, this year. Give yourself that grace and time to shine, and do the things that you want to do. So that's what I would offer.
Awesome. I think it's a great mantra. Like, give yourself the time to do it. Just go for it.
Hmm.
Love, love, love that. Well, Angela, I am so delighted that you joined us in the podcast today. We're gonna put all details in the show notes, all kind of fun things that you've mentioned that people can look into, like launch codes and the diamond painting. And I am immensely proud of you for doing this. I know you were shy, but you did a great, great job.
Thank you.
And I think that you really have inspired a lot of folks with your honesty and your candor. So thank you so much for being part of 29 Days of Magic.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura, for having me.
Awesome. And that is our show.